Welcome back to another episode of Fee's Fresh Take. Today's topic is real-time data. My hot take is that not every company needs it. And so we're going to break down what industries benefit from it, where it's overkill, and how to assess if your org is ready. So Daniel, what are the top two industries where real-time isn't just helpful, it's critical?
In general, we'll talk about real time today, but you have typical industries like finance and banking, logistics, healthcare. But even still, I'll push back and say, even in these industries, depending on the use case, you don't actually need real time data.
So I actually think you're right on that because like for finance, we're thinking about when you swipe your card, so when those transactions go through, that is absolutely critical. That needs to be real time. Fraud detection, that's absolutely important. You need to be able to like put a stop or put a hold on a card. Even like trading, 9 to 5 trading, like absolutely. But I think for credit scoring, I feel like that can be updated. That can be batch process. That could be like once a week when all your transactions are going through, or even like once a month, right?
Potentially, and it's also dependent on what kind of application are you using for this. The examples you gave, those real-time alerts, they're really
Mm-hmm.
important, and you can build this into applications. But in terms of operational excellence, you don't necessarily need real-time updates on the business all the time. I mean, think about how much you check your email or critical dashboards and reporting, or how often you need information sent to you. If your phone was blown up with alerts all day long on things, you're going to also ignore these alerts, right? They're going to lose their value. And for us, we want to create a system where business executives can walk before they run and actually just use the right system and not get so overwhelmed with all these cliche terms of real time and AI and all the things that are happening. Just get started and do it the right way. And if you have a certain amount of, it's like working out, you don't need to work
Yeah.
out all day, every day, 7 days a week to see results. You need like a consistent routine that works for you. And that's how we build it for our clients.
And what industries do you think are overreaching where batch processing still makes sense?
Again, I think there's no real specific one. I think everyone is excited about real time until they see the bill of what their
Yeah.
cloud data warehouse and their computing costs look like. And it's important to do an assessment about what you really want to solve and what is important. What are the metrics that you want to look at, and how regularly do you need to really act upon those? And so across industries, we know that data is a challenge and an opportunity for every successful business. It doesn't matter. So when people ask me, what industries do you think this is important, being data in general, and which ones do you focus on? It's really across the board, right? From government, education, healthcare,
Mm.
finance, logistics, and even small companies now that are building exciting apps and data as a product need stuff real time as well, because their homeowners or their client base are the ones using these data products. And so they want information real time. And I'd say that's probably the top one, is the ones where data is a product and the user actually affects your revenue and all of that. They want information right away. So you want to enable those applications to be more real time than just simply your operations.
Very, very fair. But and I would also say that I think you mentioned like education, and I think did you say nonprofits too?
I don't know. Maybe we've done work with nonprofits already.
We have done work with nonprofits, but I would definitely say that batch processing, even though there's a difference between like using data as a product, what's good for operations, what's client facing, I would say that like typically education, there should be no real time data. It's not important. Like your GPA is not going to dramatically change like overnight. Like that takes semester by semester. So one that I don't think that's important. And even for like nonprofits and government, those are very like resource limited organizations where like a monthly to weekly refresh is fine because we also have to take into consideration costs, like you were saying, and like real time data is very, very costly. But what would you say some of the biggest mistakes teams make when jumping to real time?
I think it's the overimportance that they are missing out on something, or that they
Mm-hmm.
need to do something because they're comparing themselves to what they're reading about the latest trends in data. And it's distracting them from their overall core mission of the company, which is providing value to their users and operational efficiencies. I mean, we can set this up very basic. And again, I think people should just calm down and take a breather and say data is important, but it's more important for us to get the right system in place where the alerts that we're getting, the information we're getting, we're actually listening to, and it's important. And more than real time, you see companies that get infatuated and obsessed with their
Mm-hmm.
business intelligence programs to the point where they have multiple data visualization platforms, they have hundreds of dashboards, and truly less is more in this instance. It gives you back more time in your day to make better decisions when you're not obsessed about the data. Think about trading. We talked about finance and trading is maybe a potential one for real time data. But if you look at an analogy of a day trader looking, selling and buying Bitcoin all day or looking at things nonstop, they're really obsessive about the market. They can't take away, they can't zoom out from like the bigger pictures because they're just constantly absorbing this data. It's okay, but we want to step back and look at the overall trends and zoom out from our problems to figure out the solution that really makes sense and whether we need to wait or act or plan and change. That's what I love about data is it's the fuel of our decisions, but it's also a psychology thing that we need to step away from just the nonstop real time flow, but
Yeah.
look at it in a way where it makes sense to the company.
No, I'm happy that you said that, like that zoomed out lens, because that's also where like stakeholders come into play and investors. They want to know certain things. So if a team is trying to evaluate if they're looking for real time data, I would always, like you said, what's the use case? Zoom out. What are the stakeholders expecting? And what would the impact be from that data freshness?
Yeah. And when we look at the impacts, because I don't want to say that it's never important, sometimes it is. And it's by a use case and it's going to be looking at the total like overall value that you might get from it. And when we determine that it's absolutely necessary, we want this real time data and we want no lag or we want pretty much as close to real time as possible, there's a million tools we can put in place to make that work, to make it efficient. It's just a matter of right sizing the solution for what stakeholders are really going to use it for. Even that's a
Yeah.
daily refresh, daily is still good. I want information updated, very regularly. But there's ways that we can set it up. Sports betting, that reminded me of one too. I was like thinking of the abs and you want to see the scores right away. You want to make your bets. You want to make your different placements, but that's another use case that's
I
probably
mean, but that's also your users are taking that data in and making decisions based on that in the moment. So what you were saying like earlier, where it's like, what does your user need? Do they need that data fresh for game betting? What is it called again? Sports betting? That
yeah.
I don't as you know, I'm so like well versed in the sports betting world, but
It's
that
good that you're not.
absolutely
That's a character boost for you. No need to worry about that.
perfect. But that absolutely needs because that's what the customer is expecting. So quick recap of what we talked about. Not all fast data equals better decisions. Real time is expensive. Have your business use cases to justify it. Align your tech with values, not buzzwords. That batch is not outdated, is strategic, and industry context matters more than just tooling. And also, what you were saying, where like you have some teams that are using multiple different data visualizations tools. To me, that reflects more about the poor cohesion of a company and all of their like siloed orgs. A team does not need to be using Mode and Tableau and Looker and another one. It's like that just illustrates right then and there that communication between departments is lacking, um, and there's poor oversight.
Yeah, and it speaks to a bigger problem. But great point. Like, there's a culture embedded in this that if we're operating as a team, we should be speaking the same language. We should be looking at the same data definitions, the same metrics, because from that starting point that everyone is equal and they understand the perspectives of the others, that's how you make changes in the business. But if you're spending all your executive meetings arguing about which report is right or why is there differences in these metrics that should be the same, this is where a data strategy and the true implementation of less is more and like focused work is better. So awesome.
I'm
Thank you.
so happy that you said that because it gave me an idea for another episode in 2 weeks, weekly business reviews and how to strategically align like all heads of departments into one. So I know we're coming up on time because we're trying to keep these fresh takes like actually like to a less than like 15-minute time mark. But Daniel, what's one piece of advice for a VP or head of data thinking about real-time systems?
I think they should ask themselves, do you really need this and why? And they should also seek to figure out what is the primary objective and who can you trust to help you build the system. Um, exactly knowing if it's real time or not, again, is going to depend on your use case, but don't be overzealous about it. Think, do you really need it? And less is more.
I love that. Less is more. And also, shout out to Silver Creek Insights. If you are looking for any data driven strategic analyst or anyone to help, oh, I'm stumbling over this, anyone to help your data teams, like, you know who to turn to. We're here for you and all of your needs.
You're the best. And I guess last thing on Silver Creek, one thing we're focused on now is bringing the overall data solution together. And that includes a mix of professionals that range from software development, data engineering, and AI engineering, combined with training and enablement to make everything work and make it so that your executive meetings actually are effective and that you're working with the same data and that it's flowing through your organization and that your clients are happy.
All right. Thanks for your time, Daniel.
Thank you.